Different's great, but being different for the sake of being different, I'm not a big fan of, right? If you just want to be different for the sake
technology
of it. But
increased, I would hide behind it.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes.
Because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Master Connector Show. I'm your co-host, Rob Genovesi, and I hope you're joining us every single week here. We go live every Wednesday, 1 p.m. on LinkedIn, on YouTube, with replays on Spotify and what's the other one? Apple Podcasts. So if you miss it, you can always capture it. But listen, you want to be here live because live is where the engagement is. Live is where you get to do things like ask questions. You know, I was a long time ago so fearful and so shy, I couldn't even ask questions. But questions, quality questions, are the key to your success and figuring out the gaps in your knowledge so you can put it all together and make a better sprint for success no matter what your journey is. And look, if you can't catch us every week, I hope you can. You should bookmark us, by the way, on your calendar so you don't miss it. Because look, we're right around lunchtime anyway. So you just eat your sandwich, park yourself in front of your computer and watch the show. But listen, go to masterconnector.show. If you can't make it every week, but there's somebody that you need to hear from that we have booked on this show, because we're booked through the rest of the year into next year with amazing, amazing guests. So you can go to masterconnector.show. You can see who's coming up. Then you could really bookmark and set an alert on your phone, set an alert on your computer, put a post-it note on the screen so you don't miss the show that you need to see in order to close those gaps and close those gaps between the knowledge so you can experience success quicker. And you know, when you come here live, we want you to comment. We want you to like this. We want you to share it. This is about connecting with people, connecting with each other, connect with us. Because when you connect, look, I spent a lot of years doing it by myself because I wanted total control. And you know what you get when you get total control? Total solitude. And you can't do really great things unless you're connected with the right people that can make it happen for you. So this is the Master Connector Show. Become connected. And listen, you know, Steve and I, we're two former shy guys. I want to tell you something because I speak with people all the time, and there are people who are introverts and they think introvert equals shyness. I'm an introvert. I'm not shy, clearly, because here I am talking to you, and overcame that shyness a long time ago. I don't think Steve was shy per se. He's just a quiet guy, but we both had to learn to talk, overcome those things that hold us back. And introversion is just an energy thing. I would sooner sit back and listen to you talk to somebody else than me talk, because it's an energy thing. Extroverts simply have more energy in social situations. When I learned that, by the way, that was huge, because that enabled me to break through and realize just because I'm an introvert doesn't mean I can't become a speaker, doesn't mean I can't connect, doesn't mean I can't have a successful business. But listen, we're all connectors here, right? And you can become a master connector, but there's only one, the master connector. Let's bring him on, Mr. Steve Spiro. What's up, Steve?
What's up, Robbie G? Yes, I was shy, but I will say this. I was actually, fearful of people. I didn't really like people for quite a while. In fact, I would be happy. I always just say this: the world would be great if it wasn't for people, but that'd be a hard world to kind of live in. So, but I eventually started to really get to really appreciate people and relationships and connecting. And it's been great connecting and being your friend for this many years, 27 plus years, crazy. So anyway, what's going on, friends? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. And, I got a question for you. Who's cheering for you when no one else is watching? That's a question we're going to ponder today, right? And listen, we're going to talk about, being, your own best cheerleader. And, I got to say, for years, I didn't think I was worthy. And I don't know if you're listening to this or watching this and you're saying to yourself, yeah, I don't know if I have much to say. I want you to understand you are amazing and you have worth and you are worthy and you are great in your own way. We all have our own story, our own journey, and we all have accomplishments. I challenge you. My mentor years back, he said to me, Steve, I want you to write down your accomplishments and what you've accomplished, and don't be, sort of embarrassed, if you will, or don't think you're being egotistical, write them down for yourself. And I'm like, after I wrote it down, I'm like, "Oh, I've accomplished a decent amount, you know? And listen, you may not have a double black belt like me. You may not be an inspirational speaker like I am, but you've got your own things that you accomplished, right? And I really want you to think about, if you don't self-advocate and if you don't sort of promote yourself, who else will? You know, and there's ways to do it, and we're gonna hear from Neelu, and she's gonna tell us the best ways to do it and how she's done it. But it doesn't have to be you bragging. In fact, nobody likes a bragger, right? For sure. But you could talk about how you've done things. You could tell stories. I love telling stories, and often telling stories about how other people have benefited from things I've done, right? And that's a way of it's kind of like a testimony, and that's a way to do it, right? Listen, ultimately, self-promoting and being your own best cheerleader, it's not arrogance, it's ownership, right? And I really want you to pay heed to that. And listen, hopefully after today's show, you go ahead. It's not just theory. I want you to go and into take it into application. And the reason that I call myself an inspirational speaker and not a motivational speaker is I'm hoping that I believe in, motivation is an inside job, but inspiration, I'm hoping that one thing I say can light a spark in you and get you to take some action and find the motivation within yourself. So we're going to have a great show. I'm excited. If you're ready, I want you to now type in the comments right now, because we're LinkedIn participants, not LinkedIn lurkers. So get in there, put in the comments. Let's go. And I'll have Robbie G pass it. I'll pass it to you, have you introduce our great.
All right, let's go, everybody. Neelu Kaur is an author, speaker, and executive coach focusing on self-advocacy, innovation, and burnout management. In 2003, the book Be Your Own Cheerleader was published, which focuses on self-advocacy in the workplace. Neelu holds a bachelor's from NYU Stern School of Business, a master's degree in social and organizational psychology from Columbia University, and she's a certified NLP master practitioner and coach from the NLP Center of New York. Neelu's passions include yoga and the holistic healing system Ayurveda. She's been teaching yoga for 15 years and is a lifelong student and practitioner of Ayurveda. Please welcome to the show, Neelu Kaur. What's up, Neelu?
Thanks for having me, and thank you for pronouncing Ayurveda correctly. That's amazing.
Robbie's amazing. I often have our guests say, "Hey, can I take Rob with me home?" He's great to have here. It's great having you on the show, and Neelu, and I know we talked about it. Hey, it's been a ways coming, but worth the wait, right?
Yeah.
I believe the juice is worth the squeeze. And it's gonna be great to have you on here, and it already is. We're excited. So listen, I want to jump right into it here. Rob and I were part of same mentorship team. We were in a business developing group, and often what got talked about to us was our self-talk, what we say to ourselves. Great book by Chad Helmstettler, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. And I heard it also said, I know you're an NLP person, so you probably know this way better than I do, but and I was listening to a great book. It's on the next conversation. Really just found that book really, really good. Anyway, it reminded me that in the book that, we hear ourselves through our inner ear, through the bone of our ear, and that goes into the brain a different way. So self-talk is so important. So I want to ask a question. I want to hear your perspective. Why is it so important to become your own inner type voice in both personal and professional settings?
I mean, what's the alternative? The alternative is to be down on yourself. And if you're saying things that are negative, you are going to feel negative. You will then not be inspired to take any action. So I think if you don't do it, no one else will. And ultimately, you're in control of your life, and our mindset and the way we speak to ourselves is the first and foremost building block, as you were just saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to say this, it's interesting because I think a lot of times our background, how we were raised, a lot of those things, you hear people all the time, they say things like, "Oh man, I'm so fat," or I'm so, I'm terrible with names, and a lot of that is because they were programmed as a kid, I remember my mentor, his daughter is he likes to call her observant. And anyone, someone would say, she's shy. He's like, stop that. No, she's not shy. She's observant, right? Because he's trying to program her brain, right? So there's sort of things I think that are root causes. And I want to speak about that as the next topic. So community. And by the way, welcome the amazing Yolanda, who's in with us. Incredible. She's amazing. If you haven't connected with Yolanda, you need to. She's an incredible resource, and she's on here weekly. She's basically she's part of the show. If we don't have Yolanda on, we're lost. Anyway, root cause, right? So type in root cause. What are some of the hidden reasons people feel so uncomfortable promoting themselves, Neelu?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak from my lens and also the research that I've done, which is around many of us that come from collective cultures. So Asians, Africans, Latins, Middle Eastern cultures, like they're very collective, very we-based, and North America is very I-based. So when you're raised in a collective environment or raised by people from collective environments, you are taught about group harmony, about sort of keeping your head down, doing good work, and the work will speak for itself. And that is actually a recipe for disaster in corporate America. And so if you come from those cultures or raised by people from those cultures, you could be neurodivergent and you were sort of taught to stay under the radar. You just felt you needed to stay under the radar. You could be extremely introverted and just want to do your work. And a lot of technologists fall under this category where they just want to code all day and they don't want to advocate for themselves. So you could be from a small town in the US where you're taught to be humble. And when you're humble, you shouldn't brag, right? So there's this paradox that's going on in your mind about if I speak about myself, I'm actually bragging. You could be from a military background where it's all about teamwork, and you can't really be apart from the team. But I think for me, what I've learned, the formula for success in corporate America is you must be a part of a team and also apart from the team. So you have to have a blend of the we and the I in order to thrive in North America corporate landscape.
Yeah, I can relate a lot of that, Neelu. I spent 25 years in corporate, and with the personality styles, when I learned about personality styles, particularly the DISC program, and learned that, if anybody understands, if you're high S, high C, you're basically passive and task oriented. You just sit back. And that was kind of my default. And I became a graphic designer. One of the reasons was I wanted to hide behind the computer so I don't have to talk to people. But then I had this desire, this real burning desire for success, overall success in life. And you cannot do that if you sit back and watch everybody, right? And so the fear that I had to overcome was very real, very scared to talk to people, very scared of confrontation, which honestly was just communication. I called it confrontation because anything that required me to speak was confrontational and therefore scary. But overcoming that has been the key. Really overcoming the fear, because then it gave me the confidence to be able to speak up and be able to, like people say, shameless promotion. It's not really shameless promotion. It's just what I've always heard was that people only know what you tell them. And if you don't tell them, nobody's going to tell them for you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I just, it's interesting. I can relate so much because I also, again, Rob and I have so many parallels, right? I went to high school, art college, thinking that I was going to literally, I'm dating myself. I don't even think I was going to be looking at a computer screen. I was literally going to be looking at a drafting table, a T-square drafting table and an X-Acto blade. And anyone probably under, maybe under 45 doesn't know what the heck I'm talking about. But anyway, the point is, I really could, didn't want to relate to people. And I've learned how to, the value, like you said. One of the things I love talking about is those engineer types as an inspirational speaker, because I think they understand to be able to grow in, professionally, they need to be able to, connect and communicate. And I'm more in the technology space now than I've ever been before. And I see these demos, and now that you have these, what they call them, engineers, there's another word to it, but they basically come on, system engineers, if you will, and they come on and they've got really good people skills and really good communication and connecting skills. So much better. But anyway, I want to kind of move forward here with sort of the next piece of this, which is, where do you do this, right? And I put in hashtag, everywhere for you community. So type in everywhere, right? There's the answer, right? But do we need to practice this? How can we practice self-advocacy in our daily life, not just at work, right? Because this, I think, is is an everywhere thing, right? So what's your thoughts
Absolutely.
on that?
Yeah, I mean, just like you go to the gym and you don't lift like a 20-pound dumbbell right away. At least I didn't. Like I had
Right.
to work up to it. And so the idea is that you want to practice everywhere and practice in low stakes situations. So if it feels very high stakes at work in a performance review conversation, or going to your manager and, you know, sharing you'd rather be working on something else, if that feels high stakes, practice in low stakes scenarios. So at home with your family, with your friends. I know for me, I used to be the type that if I'm in a group and they're like, where do you want to go to eat? I'll be like, oh, I'll just go wherever everyone wants to go. It's like, I was
Mhm.
just like, you know, I don't want to rock the boat. I'll just find something. I'm fine, you know. And so now I make an effort if I'm in those situations. It's like, oh no, maybe I would like to have Thai food if everyone's cool with that. But just like sharing my opinion, whether it's taken in or not, is a different story. But for me, it's like practicing in low stakes situations. And that may sound so silly to do that, but even that is an act of self advocacy.
I love how you say low stake situation. And I think that's very relatable to people because they see everything as some level of risk, right, Nilu? And it made me think of the time when I left corporate America and I knew that networking was the fastest way to business because I launched my own business prior to leaving corporate America. And I remember walking into a room, this business networking environment. Everybody's in suits and there's attorneys and there's bankers and all. And here's me. I don't know anything.
Right.
And I was still scared at the time. But to your point, the one thing I learned was when they said, oh, here we're going to talk about a little teaching tidbit here about business. And I made myself a promise that no matter what they said, when they said, does anybody have anything to say, I would shoot my hand up regardless of whether I had something on my mind. And when I did, the adrenaline kicked in and I would just give a thought and they'd be like, oh, that's a really good point. And you know what? It made me more memorable and it was low stakes because even if nobody really cared what I had to say, at least I know that I contributed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to get to a question. I'm not sure if this is a rhetorical question, Yolanda, but well, let's see. We'll make it one that we can ponder. Right? When does self promotion become negative? Question for you, Neelu.
Hmm. Well, interestingly, I don't think it, I think when we think of self promotion as bragging, it can be negative. But if we think of it, it's a mindset shift. If we think of it as self promotion as self advocacy, it will never feel negative. And when it doesn't feel negative, you're not even, there's, it's like you're embodying that you're advocating for yourself. And so it's not going to come across negatively. I think if you think you're bragging, it might be perceived as
Mm,
bragging. So it's how
right.
you think about it for yourself. So I think there's that mindset shift that has to happen, that I'm not bragging, I'm actually advocating.
Sure. Yeah, and I wanted to acknowledge we've got Monsango, which he and I had a connect call. He was introduced to me through someone in my network. We're looking at potentially having him on the show. Great resource. But he wrote this act of self advocacy. I love that. So he's acknowledging what we're talking about here. By the way, you talked about Thai food. It's lunch hour for most people. I am so like I just got a craving for pad Thai. It's like
Me
crazy.
too. I'm
Oh
like, oh,
my gosh.
that would be great to be able to
Oh,
just have it on demand, like right in this
oh,
second after we get off of this
absolutely.
this event.
Yeah. The one thing that Rob and I differ on is I've never been the people pleaser per se.
Hmm.
Um, I have a little people pleaser in me, but not like heavy, right? So I'm the guy that if you said something that I didn't agree with, I'm just like you're wrong. Like I don't like oh I know how you feel, and I was just like in your face. And Rob probably had seen that me do that probably too many times. But anyway, let's move things forward here. Um, you know, let's talk about permission, right? And I think that sometimes we take that the wrong way.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's give yourself permission, sometimes it's ask for permission. But here's the question, right? And community, type in hashtag permission. What mindset shift helps someone go from feeling guilty about self promotion to owning their worth? And I spoke about that in the intro.
I mean, I think it's going back to what I said, and then I'll add something else to it. So when you
Sure.
think of it as bragging, so if self promotion is
Yeah.
bragging versus self promotion is self advocacy, I think that helps you with your mindset shift. I also think when you are thinking about advocating for yourself or promoting yourself, so if you are an entrepreneur or you are in an organization and you're about to post something on LinkedIn and you are like, this kind of feels like I'm bragging, and maybe you feel viscerally uncomfortable. I think the question to ask yourself is, is this post going to help people, or is it me just showcasing how great I am? So I think if we are,
good.
yeah, I think the awareness of, are we sort of like trying to just seem amazing, or is this really helpful to people? So I think if we're showcasing our work in a way that's going to help, that's a very different mindset than if you're just wanting people to think that you're amazing and that you're this great person.
I want to say one thing real quick, Rob. So what I've learned through some amazing people is a few things. You can talk about yourself, but you could also edify other people and give credit to other people and uplift other people. So like if you're saying, hey, I just hit 30,000 followers on LinkedIn. Thank you, community, for your amazing support. And I was fortunate to hit 30,000, right? Versus, hey, I just hit 30,000. I'm the best. I'm great. But giving others credit, right?
Right.
And so, or uplifting somebody, you're amazing. And because of you, I was able to do, right? So like, those are the things I think help make this come across not like bragging, but you're also able to self-advocate, right? And I see Rob do it all the time. I love what he does, right? He slips in that he's a branding guy. And, through my branding clients, like he just slips it in. That's another way of self-promoting in a way that's just subtle, right? So anyway.
I think the what I'm taking away from what you're saying, Neelu, and the clarity that we're getting here is that it's not how great I am, it's how great you are. So Neelu, you're not going, I'm the best cheerleader for people, I'm the best cheerleading coach. You're saying, no, be your own cheerleader, and here's how. Because when you say I'm great and here's why, people don't care, obviously, right? But when you say you're great and you can be even greater, and here's how you do it, and you actually help people, they go, hey, she's great. It's like,
right.
It's all about the other person, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I want to just point out that Monsango, great question. How do you strike the balance between healthy self-promotion and staying grounded in humility? Is that a question or is that a point? I don't know. But anyway, something to ponder. So anyway, cool. All right. Well, I want to kind of keep this rolling, right? So let's talk about, the silence that we deal with, right? And what happens in our heads and so forth, right? So the question, and community, type in hashtag silence, right? What happens when we wait for others to notice or validate us instead of speaking for ourselves?
I mean, you will have lost opportunities, lost promotions, lost raises. Like if you're waiting for that validation from somewhere else, it's like you're just waiting and you're very passive about it. And if you're goal oriented, there's something you want to accomplish. Sometimes when we're trying to be humble, humility does not equal invisibility. Like we still want to be visible, we want to be present, we want to go for what our goals are. But I think there's this mistake that, oh, if I'm humble, I should be invisible, or I should just be in the background. And you can be humble and in the forefront of the conversation or the room as well.
Sure, absolutely.
I think I heard something along those lines where, it's okay to talk about the headlines of you, but the second you start believing them, you got a problem, right? Because people can say how great we are. Oh, Rob, he's this amazing. But the second I go, yeah, that's right, I got a problem, right? The humility in there is going, thank you, but understanding that people, and accepting the compliments, accepting the praise, but not really believing it so much that you think you're so great. Because here's one thing I've learned: anything great that I've done was done as a blessing in my life, because maybe I've given enough good out there that it just came back. I believe in sowing and reaping. So it's really not about me as much as what I've done for others. That's all.
I think, on the flip side, and I write about this in my book as well, it's like some folks really struggle with internalizing a compliment. So if you notice, and men don't do this as much as women, but if I go to a woman and I say, I really like your shirt, she'll say, oh, I love your hair. Like it's this immediate wanting to, like the compliment can't sit because it's so uncomfortable that you deflect by immediately giving a compliment back. Even if you never had the intention of giving that compliment, but the moment you get it, you're just so uncomfortable, you deflect. And so many people do that. Or it's like, oh, I like your dress. And you're like, oh, I got it on sale. So this moment of like deflection that happens. So that actually is the tail end of it. That's the other end of what Rob was talking about. And so again, if you find yourself being that person, then it's like, no, let that compliment really just sit, resonate, relish in it, and then do with it what you will.
I love it. Love it. This is going fast. This is great. I love it. So, in my kind of intro, I talked about owning it, right? And the fact that it's not like being cocky, it's ownership, right? So let's talk about that. Hashtag community, hashtag ownership. What's one powerful habit to start showing up as your own biggest cheerleader today? Again, we love giving people action points on how they could start doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, what I find really helpful is a definition by this woman named Tara Lazar. It's success is the succession of small events.
Mm,
What happens is we usually are so goal oriented, we only celebrate at the very end of achievement versus thinking of micro moments that happened before you could get to that big macro moment. So
mm,
many of us are filled with big accomplishments like publishing books or graduations or whatever. And we don't actually take time for those micro moments to like do something. We're just so focused on that end result. And I have a mentor that always says, Neelu, it's time for cake, which means it's time to celebrate in some way. It doesn't have to be cake. It could be whatever your cake is. But the idea is that you give yourself opportunities to have cake throughout that journey, and those small micro moments
mm.
are really crucial to celebrate. Whatever celebration looks like for you. It could be going out to dinner with your partner. It could be a mani-pedi. It could be whatever it needs to be for you, but that you actually give yourself a pat on the back.
Love that. That's great. Yeah, I think I'm going to be getting a mani pedi anytime soon. Guys do that, okay? But
Some guys
I don't
do.
do it. I really don't. But anyway, not that there's anything wrong with it, okay? Anyway, I want to welcome to the show Sarah. Sarah's in the house. Good to see you, Sarah. I just recently connected with her. Good to have her on the show. So I want to slip in one more here, okay? And so not to throw you off, but this has been so amazing. And you're right. I mean, your answers are spot on, Neelu, and you're super succinct, but I love it. So just on the topic of confidence, right? Because I had no confidence. I think Rob also confessed he also had no confidence early on. So talk about community hashtag confidence. And so what's one, again, something to kind of help take away for today? What's one way someone could start being their own cheerleader today, even if they're feeling unsure or maybe even stuck?
I recently learned this, and it was sort of like a moment of complete mind blow. It was that, if you think about oftentimes when we make statements like, oh, I wasn't confident before, or I was never a confident kid, it's like our past is sort of behind us and we have these obstacles we've gone through versus sort of reorienting where the past and where the present is and where the future is.
Mm,
So, for example, if you think of your past under your feet, and you're standing on your past, you're sort of like
mm,
you're standing on everything that's gotten you here in this moment. So if you
mm,
feel like you're in a boardroom or a conference room and you're about to say something, you're like, I'm such an imposter. It's like, no, no, no. You actually have all of these past experiences under your feet in order for
mm,
you to have the confidence to speak. And I think when we actually think of the past under our feet or under our seat, if we're seated, it's like we have everything we need in the moment to share our idea, to share what we are passionate about. And so I think that reorientation of time really helps me think, no, I have exactly what I need to be on this stage speaking about this topic.
love that. That's awesome. Yeah. That's a mic drop there. Boom, right
Yeah,
there.
that was a
I
mic
think
drop.
so. For
Yeah.
sure. Absolutely. Well, good stuff. Well, we are pretty much at the bottom of the hour. So I know, Needle, you have something amazing that you want to offer our community. Would you please tell them what you'd like to offer them?
Yes, absolutely. So 10 tips to be your own cheerleader that you can't get from Chat GPT. So if you there's a link in the chat. If you download or click on the link, you'll be able to download the 10 tips. And so they're surprising tips. You can't find them on Chat GPT. And yeah, that's the giveaway.
Yeah, Chat GPT is great, but you need someone amazing like you, Needle, to be able to provide the right stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Well, we appreciate you big time. Thank you for blessing our community. So excited to have you here with us. I know and the juice definitely was for sure worth the squeeze. So for sure. So
Yeah.
appreciate you. We're gonna have you in the green room, but thanks again.
Thanks
Amazing.
again. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
All right. All right. Well, wow, that was amazing. Hopefully, you got us. I listen. One of the things that Rob and I love about this show is we have great guests and we learn a lot. Like, I mean, we're talking too, but I love it because I learned something every time we have a guest on here. And Yolanda, thank you. She thanks you, Neelu, and amazing. And yeah, she said mic drop too. So for sure. Anyway, listen, if you're excited about what you just heard today, go check out next week. We're going to be same bad time, same bad channel, episode 221, Wednesday the 23rd. The dream, the struggle, the victory. I heard that for Rob, and I heard that for quite a few years. It's going to be great with my good friend Donville Collins, who I know for a long, long time. And if you're interested in learning more about the show in the future episodes besides next week, go to masterconnector.show. Rob does an incredible job keeping up with things as we book out all the way into the end of the year and the beginning of next year. It's amazing. And if you're interested in being a guest on the show, or if you'd like to sponsor an episode, go to masterconnector.show. So anyway, I want to close with a quick story here, as I love to do. And, before Issa Rae became a Hollywood powerhouse, and I might be saying the name wrong, so apologies, learning this disabled dyslexic guy, right? But she was a powerhouse. She was told that there was no space for awkward, dark-skinned Black women in the entertainment industry. Rather than wait for validation, she created her own web series, The Misadventure of Awkward Black Girl, showcasing her talent and voice with bold authenticity. That self-belief led to her HBO hit, Insecure, multiple Emmy nominations, and a thriving career built by cheering herself on when no one else would. Folks, let's continue to believe in ourselves, drown out the noise of what others are thinking, along with the always thinking or seeking their approval, so we can go on and succeed and ultimately be the light and shine a light to the world. God bless, and see you next week.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.